guys, welcome back. It's Jordan Beauty YT. Long time no see, I know. It's been a while since I filmed. If you do follow me on Instagram or have me on Facebook or even Snapchat, I think, I did let you guys know that I was taking a break because I was going through something, and that something is what I'm going to be talking about today. The title of this video is going to be something like my toxic relationship and how to get out of one. This relationship was so toxic. Police were involved, cops were involved, DA was involved, court, all that stuff. So I'm just gonna literally tell you guys the timeline and everything about this relationship and why it was so bad. And hopefully by me telling you guys everything and all of this, you guys can prevent, or this can prevent you guys from being in a relationship like this. I know that my demographic is girls who are in high school, and you guys are going to get ready to graduate and you guys are going to get in relationships, and I'm going to just tell you about my toxic relationship so you guys can see warning signs and you can end it sooner, a lot sooner than I ended mine. Just a quick disclaimer, this will be a more serious video than a lot of my other ones. This is kind of like a story time because I am telling you about my relationship and it's a story, but it is going to be more serious, possibly emotional. If it does get emotional, it's not because I'm sad. I'm actually really relieved. This relationship, it's like when you're underwater holding your breath and for a long time and you come up and breathe. That's kind of how I feel right now. But going back through it and reliving it and telling you guys this timeline of the relationship is going to bring back a little bit of emotion. So if I do get emotional, which I don't know if I will because I feel fine right now, that's why. Not because I'm sad, but just because of that. Also, you guys, just to let you know, I am still healing. This is still a fresh wound. I've been single for now a month and I'm really happy, but I am still healing. So before we get into the video, I am talking a little bit more quiet. As you can see, I'm not in my apartment anymore. I am signing my name off of the lease with her because I can't end a relationship if you still live with them. I am at my mom's now. Temporarily until I figure out what I want to do and where I want to move, because I'm not sure if I want to stay in Colorado anymore. Just a quick backstory before I get into this. You guys need to know that starting like my into sophomore year to junior year, I developed depression and anxiety. I've had anxiety actually my whole life, but depression, I really discovered that I was suffering from depression, self-diagnosed myself at the time that I was suffering from depression, and I did go through and battle with self-harm. So just to let you guys know that if you're uncomfortable with listening to that, because I am going to be talking about that, probably shouldn't watch this video. So in high school, when I did develop this bad habit of self-harm and my depression and everything, for me, I know a lot of people do it because it's like releasing an energy or whatever, different things I've heard, but for me it was a cry for attention. I wanted to do that, and then I wanted someone to see it and ask me what was happening, because I felt like at the time what I was going through, my parents were not paying attention to me, and well, my stepmom and my dad, because that's who I was living with in Georgia at the time. And so I did it hoping they would see it, but then once I did it, I was so embarrassed. I would wear all these bracelets. You guys can like go on my Facebook. I had like a shit ton of bracelets. I would wear all these bracelets because it was embarrassing, and I would wear long sleeve shirts all the time because it was embarrassing, and they never did see it. I'm just gonna start with the timeline. This is literally a whole timeline of the relationship so I can explain to you guys everything. So it starts back in July 2015. Well, actually it starts in May 2015 is when I met her, and with her and I, we didn't really have anything really in common. We were never very compatible, but I mean, I did have fun with her. It was more for us, it was a physical thing, our relationship, and that's how it developed, like a sexual thing. So that's kind of what kind of held us on a little bit. I know it's weird, but that's really the only thing we really had in common, and we started our relationship in that way. So we just kind of connected like that. I don't know, it's kind of weird. We met in May, at the end of May, started dating and made it like official in July, and moved in together in August, mid-August I think, something like that. So yeah, we started dating, and off the bat, before, literally I remember the day she asked me to be her girlfriend, I had this voice in the back of my head, and I've never had this with any other relationship. I've never felt this way, that I was unsure and I didn't know if I should date her. I didn't know if she was like, we never had deep talks or anything. Like, we didn't talk, like we had nothing in common besides that physical connection. And so I had that voice in my head from the beginning, from the get-go, being unsure. So that is a warning sign, the beginning of a toxic relationship for me, my toxic relationship. If you have that voice in your head and you're unsure about somebody, you probably should not continue to have them in your life, because that voice is in your head for a reason and you really need to listen to it. And I didn't listen to it, and I went through all of this. So just make sure you listen to that voice in your head. Also, if I keep looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So before we moved in, I would always spend the night with her all the time. And I was not 21 yet. I was 18 when we started dating. 18 or 19. I was 19 when we started dating. And she was 24, I think. Yeah, she was 24 and I was 19. So she was able to go out. I didn't have a fake ID or anything like that yet. I don't have one now, not to your knowledge, but so yeah, I couldn't go out with her or anything. So she would go out with her friends and stuff, and I worked at Hooters at the time, so I would be at work and I would go back to her house and just like go to sleep or whatever until she would come, and she would go and get so drunk. She is an alcoholic or whatever. She suffers from alcoholism, and alcoholics run in her family, and she is a binge drinker. So she never knew how to just have a couple of drinks. Like, I'll go out and I'll only have a couple of drinks knowing because I know what I can handle, depending on what kind of night I want it to be. Like, every single time you go out should not be you getting fucked up beyond belief every single time. And she would go out every single weekend when we first moved in together and when we first started dating. Every single weekend she would go out and get drunk, and her friends would call me and say, please come get her, like, she's acting crazy. Like, this was like a thing that was happen all the time. And we were freshly in this relationship, so I was letting her do this, and it was kind of like her running all over me, because she would go out, get drunk, and then I would go and get her, I'd pick her up, and she would be so rude and such an angry, mean person when she was drunk. And she told me that that's a Mexican thing, that Mexicans are angry drunks. Maybe they are, I mean, this is the only Mexican I've ever dated. But to me, that's just an excuse, although her whole family was like that. But yeah, she would go out, get drunk, come home, and I would try to take care of her, hold her hair when she would throw up, like help her take her shoes off and stuff. And she would be like, get off of me. She would push me, and she would just be so rude, and it would really, really hurt my feelings. And that started to be the point where she would start tearing me down, and it was when she was drunk. And I just let it happen for a while until I just finally got fed up. The point of me finally getting fed up and getting so sick of her doing this was the night me and Yvonne are very big Ronda Rousey fans, and we really like UFC. We love watching it. Me a little bit more than her, but she really liked Ronda Rousey. I really like Ronda Rousey. And you guys know, for a while Ronda Rousey was just kicking ass, always winning, like she was the shit. And this was her first loss when she fought Holly Holm. I was upset, and Yvonne's not a passionate person when it comes to things like that, which is fine, Like, I don't expect people to fucking get mad. But she did use it as an excuse. So she told me that when I got off, I remember we were gonna meet up. She was gonna go out and I was gonna pick her up from wherever she was. Well, by the time I got off, she was so drunk. She wasn't answering the phone. And then she finally did. She was so drunk and so out of it. And I told her I was going to go pick her up because that was our plans. And she's like, why? Like, why can't I be out and all this stuff? I was like, well, you told me to do that. That was our plan. So I went to go pick her up. And she got in the car and she was treating me so rude, like she always did. And I finally had enough and I started crying. And she was like, why the fuck are you crying? She was being so rude. And I remember, like, my windows are not tinted in my car, and I had the same car then. And I was crying, literally like ugly Kim Kardashian crying. And there were like people, everyone was drunk downtown because it was a big UFC night. And I remember there was guys in the car next to me, and they were like, why are you crying? Like, making fun of me or whatever. And like, she was just like laughing and didn't care and was so drunk. And that, I was like literally so upset. And I remember also she got out of my car and she would always just get so dramatic. She got out of my car and was like walking down the street, and I I had to like literally force her back into my car. Like this was just so much and too much for me, and I was so young at the time. It was just too much. So that's when I finally started to get, that was my point of getting fed up. That's when I started, like, it was like a bomb about to go off. So then I started to stop taking her shit. I was like, I'm so sick of you going out. You're an alcoholic. She would always deny it. She would deny it and say, I'm not an alcoholic, and say, yes, I am. I need to work on it. Like, different days, she had different moods, and she would admit to it and then deny it. And it was really frustrating and really hard for me to hear her say, okay, I'm going to work on it, and then say, I'm not an alcoholic. What are you talking about? Like, it was really, really annoying. And so eventually we would just start fighting all the time. And I remember I finally got so upset and hurt, and I ended up falling back into a depression and going back to my ways of self-harm. And it's kind of that time period is kind of it's kind of like blocked out of my memory. It's really hard for me to remember that. When I go through depression, it's kind of like I kind of black out, and when I am in that phase of hurting myself. But I do remember that, so I remember that I did something and hurt myself, and a week later we were arguing again, and I guess we were arguing really loud, and the neighbors called the cops. Well, we were fighting, and I was saying things like I want to kill myself. Like, she was trying to walk out the door and leave me, and every time I would fight, she would leave, and she would leave and go to bars and get girls' numbers and stuff. And I was literally at my lowest point, like so pathetic, begging her not to leave, saying, if you leave, I'm gonna kill myself. Well, the whole time I was saying these things, there were cops outside of the door, and they did their little like knock, like super loud knock, and they were like, Denver police, open the door. And like literally I instantly was like, oh fuck. And so they came in and they're like, do we need to take you to the hospital? Do we need to take you to jail? Like, you're saying, we heard you say you're gonna kill yourself. I was crying. I was like, please don't take me. I'm like only 19. Like, I've never gotten in trouble before. Please don't take me. And they didn't, and they're like, you guys just calm down. She was like, well, Yvonne's saying that we don't need to take you. Like, for some reason the cops just love her. Like, they're like, she said we don't need to take you, so we're not gonna take you. And that was our first incident with the cops. I remember we were arguing again another time, and the cops got called again, and they didn't take anybody, but they got called again. She also would call the cops. Ridiculous, I know. She would call the cops, and they would call me while I would leave because I wasn't trying to go to jail. And I remember one time they called me and they're like, we just had this conversation, like blah 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 blah. So cops were constantly getting called. Finally, I remember we got in a really big fight, and I remember she just didn't give a fuck at the point anymore. So I called my mom, and this was after the cops were called, and my stepdad works with the police department, so he was gonna be like the stand-in so I could get my stuff and move or whatever. So I just grabbed some clothes, some shoes and stuff, and while I was doing that, I was so sad and so like that she didn't care. I was yelling and screaming, and like my stepdad was there and my mom was there, and my mom was like talking to her. I was like, Mom, stop talking to her, yelling. Her friend was just sitting there, didn't care. This gay guy, he was just like sitting there laughing or whatever. Like, they thought this was funny, and I was so hurt. Like, and you guys, like, I have a big ego and a lot of pride, and I'm very self-confident. So for me to get to this point takes a lot. For me to get this low in my life, it takes a lot. And so I remember I moved my stuff or whatever, and I went to my friend's house, and I was there, you know, we were just chilling and stuff, having a good time with my best friend, and she showed up and called and said, I'm outside, please come talk to me. And I was like, no. And eventually I went to go talk to her, and she talked me into coming back. And so I came back, and whatever happened, and the next few months were fine. And in April of 2016, we went to LA for my birthday for about a week, and it was super fun, had so much fun. And I remember we went to this club in Inglewood, because we like hip-hop, we like ghetto stuff or whatever, so we were like, let's go to this club in Inglewood. We were having a good time or whatever, drinking and stuff. I had a fake at the time. I guess I'll let you guys know. I'm about to be 21, so I really don't care. But and I remember she was dancing, like, that was when Hotline Bling was kind of like popular, and Drake did stupid ass dances, and she was doing those dumb ass dances, and I made a comment about it. Nothing rude, nothing like like I just made a comment about it. And because I'm very sarcastic and very blunt, and she's super sensitive and gets offended very easily, she blew that out of proportion, was instantly in a bad mood for the rest of the night. So I was like, if you're gonna act like that, then we can just leave. Like, this is my birthday, like, week. I don't want to act like I don't want to be around that. So like, let's just leave. So we were getting in huge fights. Like, she was walking so fast past me in Inglewood. You guys know Inglewood, California isn't the best place for a girl who is pretty to wearing a short dress and heels to be walking by myself. And she was just walking in front of me and didn't care. There were crackheads literally everywhere. And we walked to the car, and she had my phone because I would wear a dress and I'd have her put it in her pocket because she wore jeans. And she was like, I was like, please give me my phone. Like, you know, when you're in that state, you just want to text your friend or something to make you feel better or something. And so she was like, no, you can have, this is the first time she took, like, acted like my parents. She was like, you can have your phone back when we get to the hotel. And I was like, what? Like, you're really gonna take my phone from me? Are you serious right now? Like, that made me so mad. And whatever happened, we ended up making up, but it was literally this huge fight. She wasn't getting in the car again, like all of this stuff. We were in the middle of California, like neither one of us are from, well, she was born there, but like I don't have any friends or family out there. Like, it was crazy, and she was literally acting like this on my birthday because of the way I told her she was dancing. And so it started to kind of go downhill after that, our relationship. And in May, she came with me to Georgia, and she met my family, and I told her how my family is, how they're very strict and southern and stuff. On our way back, so my family lives in Augusta, and we had to drive to Atlanta to the airport, which is a 2-hour drive. She was driving. I had the GPS plugged into the aux cord. Like, it should be easy to follow a GPS. I know she's not from Georgia, but when I was in California driving, like, I followed a GPS. It's not very hard. So I was already irritated with her, so I was like, do you not know how to use a GPS? Like, she was missing the exits and stuff. I was getting frustrated because we had to make our flight. We had to turn in our rental car. And I was being rude. I was being very rude. This was mentally abusive relationship and physically abusive relationship on both parts, not just her. I was being extremely rude, I'm not gonna lie. And I remember I had to give her money for some. Oh, I remember that my parents paid for us to stay an extra day, so bought her another plane ticket so we could stay an extra day. And so my parents were paying for me, not for her. I didn't know that. I thought that I was going to give her some money, something. I owed her money. And so we stopped at a gas station. She was like, you need to go inside, go to the ATM, because we had to fill the car up. You had to fill it up with gas, rental cars up full with a full tank. She's like, I'm gonna put gas in the car, and you need to go to the ATM, and you need to pay me what you owe me. And I was like, I'll give you your money when we get back to Colorado, and I can go to my bank instead of paying whatever the ATM fee is. And she's like, no. So she took my phone from me again. She took it out of the aux cord, put it in her pocket, and said, you can get your phone back when you pay me. And I'm like, okay, so I'm supposed to walk in the airport and everything without my phone. So we got in this huge fight at the gas station. Like, people were staring. I remember I like mushed her face, and it broke her glasses, and it really pissed her off. And she slapped the shit out of me, you guys, so bad. She hit me really bad. You can't see because I wear makeup, but there's a scar on my face now from her slapping me, and she scratched me. And it was just a really, really bad fight, and I was walking the airport like bleeding. It was really bad. But yeah, after that we broke up, and I moved out, and we're gonna have to come back because my camera's about to die.
Goddamn fine. I wanted a bitch who was down to earth, but she want the goddamn sky.